Is Jaylen Brown single-handedly keeping the Celtics in title contention? And let's remember, Jason Tatum could be coming back. And of course, are people wasting time on this whole Tyreek Hill to the Kansas City Chiefs thing? Also, Michigan still remains number one in the country despite losing to Duke on Saturday. I mean, man, that's all some pretty wild stuff. But either way, this is your man A&J back with some more sports talk, and yeah, definitely a lot of interesting things that happened over the weekend. But obviously, we're going to start with that thing that I just talked about. The Michigan Wolverines still number one, even though they lost to Duke out in D.C. on Saturday night, and it's really interesting to me that that would be the case. I'm not really looking at the records right now, but you would think after that, and moreover the fact that Duke actually holds an all-time 23-8 lead against Michigan, that would actually put them in position, or if nothing else, re-elevate Arizona, who actually just defeated number 4 Houston on Saturday as well. And really and truly, I feel like we got at least 3 of the 4 number 1 seeds without question here. I'm not so sure about Houston. Houston was looked at as a projected number 1 seed. They probably still could be, but I'm not sure if that's as strong after losing to Arizona. But again, what is it with Michigan losing to Duke like that? I mean, I get the refs didn't really do them any favors. That kind of thing sort of happens, especially in sports, specifically basketball. It really doesn't even matter either way. But truth be told, I really find it kind of wild that that's the case. I mean, I could see where Michigan is probably the better overall team, and really they gave Duke everything they could handle and more. And who knows, maybe if it turns out that you have Duke and Michigan, provided they're on opposite sides of the bracket, they could be doing it again for the national championship. I mean, really, this is one of the things that makes March Madness as fun as it is. And then, of course, you got to factor in all the other Cinderellas that'll be coming into play. We'll probably talk about that more in the coming days and weeks ahead. But, oh man, really interesting that that ends up being a case. I'm not real sure whether or not Duke continues to make a case for the number 1 spot in the country. But then again, being number 1 doesn't necessarily matter. It's not always who's number 1 in the country who ends up winning it every year. But I'd like to think with the kind of team that Duke has on paper, they have as good a shot as any. And really, it was a fantastic matchup no matter what. And hopefully they do run it back for the Natty. Preferably I'd see Arizona in that spot, but I won't say no to a rematch in the championship. And I think that is going to be a lot of fun for us regardless as basketball fans. Definitely looking forward to the tournament and everything that it offers. Just hell of a season so far. And with that in mind, we definitely got to switch over and talk about Tyreek Hill potentially returning to the Kansas City Chiefs. And I feel like at this point it's getting to be a foregone conclusion, but is it a waste of time? I mean, let's think about this here. There's no guarantee that he or Patrick Mahomes are going to be ready week 1 of the regular season. Of course, both are dealing with knee injuries that, if I'm being perfectly honest, those are going to be tough for even those guys to come back from, especially for the freak athletes that they are. And in their own ways respectively, they're both freak athletes no matter how you slice that up. But are they enough so to where they're going to be ready for week 1? And if not, when are they going to be ready? I mean, I feel like that's something to where unless they're able to really catch some magic early in the season without those two, I don't see them being back before week 6, maybe even mid-season. I guess time will only tell on that one. But to me, I'm not real sure that even if that's the case, the magic is there quite the same. I mean, they're still going to be one of those threats, especially if they manage to get Jeremiah Love in the draft. I kind of feel like he finds a way to go in the top 5, but who knows? Anyone could trade up, especially to the Chiefs. I mean, we'll see how all that works out, but if I'm being perfectly honest, the rest of the AFC, the league as a whole, if I'm being honest, is just going to be every bit as potent and dangerous when it comes down to it. Um, I'm looking at the AFC West in general, where obviously you have the Broncos, who just won the division. Broncos talk coming a little bit later today, of course. And of course, there are the Chargers and the Raiders, who I think are going to wind up being better, especially the Chargers, should they end up being healthy. But they've got an awful lot to recover from. It seems to be enough for Travis Kelce to want to come back, and I guess that's always going to help. But to me, are they going to be the same defensively? I'm not necessarily sure that they got the pieces they need for that. There are going to be an awful lot of questions here in the coming months and going into training camp as to whether or not this actually has a hope of coming to fruition, but it's the NFL. Anything's possible. So, like I said, we'll see in the coming months. But now we're going to head over to the main topic. And like I said, I feel like Jaylen Brown is absolutely single-handedly keeping the Celtics in contention. Number 2 in the Eastern Conference, and I'm pretty sure they're about number 3 in the NBA as a whole, record-wise. And again, they're doing all of this without Jason Tatum. And hell, they actually are doing this with quite a few of their key pieces from the championship season being elsewhere. Drew Holiday out in Portland, and of course, Kristaps Porzingis just made his debut out in Golden State, ironically enough, against the Celtics, where Jaylen Brown had a 23, 24-point triple-double, which included at least 15, I think, rebounds and 17 assists or something along those lines. I mean, when you got a guy putting up numbers like this, and he's doing it against some of the best teams in the league, I mean, they just beat the Lakers last night, who, if they're healthy, I feel like are certainly front runners in the Western Conference. It's going to be hard to say no, and to be perfectly honest with you, I'm not sure that OKC, Denver, even Detroit aside, the Knicks especially, I'm not really sure that, especially when the time comes when Jason Tatum actually is back. And if we're being perfectly honest, he seems to be fast tracking to be back sometime here within the next little bit. I mean, I'm not sure if he'll be back before the regular season, but I'd like to think there's a very strong chance he'll be back, certainly for the playoff run. And to me, if that ends up being the case, I don't know, again, that there's really a whole lot of anybody that I see actually really and truly standing in a way. Again, OKC, Detroit, Denver, and even the New York Knicks aside, I don't know that any of those teams, at least in my personal opinion, would beat the Celtics if all of this winds up coming together the way that I am kind of anticipating it to be. And again, I'm still thinking that Jaylen Brown is probably going to mess around and end up winning the league MVP as long as he continues to keep this up and stays healthy. I don't see either of those being problems, but I don't know. For me, it certainly seems like MVP is becoming Jaylen Brown's to lose, and the championship itself might even be Boston's to lose altogether. Who knows? I mean, that's just my personal opinion. I'm not saying that being a Celtics fan. I feel like, honestly, I would love Jaylen Brown as a Chicago Bull. He is becoming probably my favorite player if he's not already. But honestly, it doesn't seem like Chicago knows how to build a team around anyone as it is to begin with. So there's that. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and leave it at that. But y'all let me know what y'all think down below. I mean, are the Celtics looking as strong as I seem to think they are? Or am I just seeing this through green colored glasses. I mean, we do have St. Patrick's Day coming up, so there's certainly that. But yeah, let me know what y'all think about all this down below. And of course, if y'all enjoy the content, help me out with that algorithm. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. And of course, hit that notification bell so you know when more vids are coming through. With that said, this has been your time with A&J, and I appreciate you spending it with me.